I'll call the meeting to order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One 1.3, approval of agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
Second.
second.
All those in favor? None opposed, the motion passes. We have nothing for 2, 3, or 4. 5.1, grants and donations presented by Lana Sutton.
Thank you. So, this time for Madison Elementary, the donor of Alyssa Hall was school supplies to students in need, backpacks with school supplies. To Edgerton Elementary from New Life Church were supplement supplies for our students, $100 worth of school supplies. The next 3 were for the high school. The first donor was Price Chopper, and it was for our teachers, gift cards and fruit trays. The next was from TradeNet Publishing, enhances classroom instruction and enriching learning opportunities for our students, and the donation was educational resources. And then from Mid-America Bank, Trailblazer Summit with the Gardner Edgerton High School teachers, donuts. So we have donuts, school supplies, and gift cards. So thank you to everyone who gave.
Thank you, Lana, and thank you to our donors. The consent agenda, 6.1, minutes from the regular meeting held on July 13th. 6.2, approval of contracts and purchases. 6.3, acceptance of grant awards. 6.4, cell phone policy. 6.5, school building activity account for the new flag football. 6.6, memorandum of understanding approvals. And 6.7, approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed, the motion passes. We have nothing for 7. 8.1, Superintendent Dr. Brian Huff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who came tonight. Appreciate it. For those of you who are able to, and I also didn't have an invitation to convocation this morning for one particular person, and I'm sorry. But we're glad that everybody had a chance to come to convocation this morning. It's a great way to launch the school year. It's all right. We love you anyway. And it was nice to get everybody together. It's a great room full of very dedicated people, and it's fun to see all those educators in the room really encouraging each other and recognizing the great things that they're going to do this year. We have a lot of great things going on around the city, both cities. We have a lot of playgrounds going in, which is really nice. We have an addition going in at the Trails facility that's really coming along nicely. Creekside is coming along very nicely. The bond money that our voters put into place has been used heavily this summer. We should have our service center done by the time we roll around to Christmas. The only thing that I'll say that we're right at the edge with is the playgrounds, and we should have almost all of them done for the first day of school. And those that are not done at the first day of school will be done soon thereafter. And we've already been receiving a lot of thanks from the community members because they can see what the value add is going to be to their neighborhoods with those who live close to a school. So thank you, board, for putting all that together. We did just pass a cell phone policy in the consent agenda. I need to clarify for everybody out there that this cell phone policy is in place so that we're in compliance with the state law. But the school board is still going to get together, and we take time to adjust policy based on how it fits for us best. And so that policy may only be in place for a couple months until our policy review committee can get together and fine-tune it. It'll still be in compliance with the law. There won't be really any substantial change from where it is now because the law is pretty clear. No cell phones at school at any point in time from the very beginning of school until the very end of school. And so parents, That is how it's going to be this year. Do not send a cell phone with your kid. But I will say this, that every school has a contingency plan. So if you need to have them have it for the walk to school, they can get into the office there and figure out some place. There's something different going on at the different buildings, but we'll store it somehow. The best option is keep it in your car if you drive, or keep it at home. And I hope that everybody has a great first day of school coming up Thursday, except sophomores and juniors and seniors. They get a reprieve for a day. So, but everybody else, we're going to see you Thursday. Parents, it's our turn. We're going to take care of everything now. Educate your students this year. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Huff. That will bring us to 8.2, comments by Board of Education. I'll get us started. Wanted to make some comments about the bond. I got to go out and tour some of the new facilities being built. I was very impressed with Creekside Elementary. From the moment we did the groundbreaking to now, it's gone up pretty quick, and it looks great inside even though it's not done. Some really neat amenities, and it's going to be really nice. The service center, Mark's going to have a great location to work out of. It's really good size. It's going to store a lot and accommodate a variety of things, kind of bring some things together. Like Dr. Huff mentioned about the trails and the alt school, that's coming along and looking nice. The kitchen at the high school looks phenomenal. I've eaten there with my kids before. It was kind of a cluster getting in to get your food. By the time you get out, you don't have much time to eat. This is going to be so much more smoother and get the kids in and out, give them a lot more time to eat. And thank you to Newkirk and Novak for all they're doing, getting all of this kind of moving along and done very professionally. Lastly, convocation. This was my 5th convocation I had the luxury to attend, and they've gotten noticeably faster each year. I, for one, kind of miss the little skits the teachers do. Some of them are really nice, but from what I'm hearing from teachers, they like to get back to their schools and back to their classrooms. So good luck to your upcoming year to all of our staff, and I wish you the best.
I'll just echo quickly. The kitchen, I was able to visit and see that today for the first time, and really it's almost, if not, they're just cleaning up and testing equipment at this point, but thinking of a student that just left GEHS a couple years ago, I can't imagine the faces on the returning students and what that's going to be for the first lunch service. They're going to be taken truly aback and all, and then the freshmen will be like, I thought it was always like this. They won't know any better. So it'll be interesting to see the two dynamics with that. To the timing standpoint, we had lunch today, and I won't mention any names or what color shirts they had on, but I overheard a lunch conversation that says, I can't believe we got out in time to get lunch before we had to go back. So it was noticed. But that was great. It was a fantastic morning, just a great celebration to get the year off to a best start, and I wish our students nothing but success and know that they have the board's full support, the teachers the same, and we're excited for the school year ahead and all the great things that we're going to see happen in the district.
All right. That will bring us to 9.1, the board vacancy position for District 3, position 6. If we want to open this up for discussion, I personally have my own thoughts and comments. While I know we would be better as a 7-person board, we keep kicking this can down the road. And to me, at this point, we're going to be at 1 year in, and we've worked really well together. There's been no drama, and it's been nice working with this board. We're halfway through that 2-year point. I really don't see an urgent need to fill it. And I'm not even so sure we can come to an agreement and fill it. That's just my thoughts.
I agree with you, Tom. It's kind of where I was a few months ago when we had a discussion and decided to try to continue it. And it has gone on a long time. And we have worked together really well. And I see no reason why that won't continue. And at this point, I feel it's unfair to the people who have volunteered to serve on this board. So I'm okay with leaving it open until the election.
I'm not gonna die on this hill for sure. I think that anybody who threw their hat in the ring to be appointed can run and, take their seat if elected. I think my only drawback is that the majority of the time we can come to consensus. There are just those times that we are split and we really need that one person to break it either way. I don't know how many more times we're going to come to those types of votes from now until next election. But it's very nice to have that seventh person to have it so that the board rules this is what it is and it doesn't have to get tabled for who knows how long. That's my only drawback. Other than that, if they are really that dedicated to serving on the board, I encourage them to run.
I do too.
I appreciate and I understand both sides of this, frankly, especially from where we're at from the standpoint of timing and knowing that it'd be November till we're all in the room together again. My only shortcoming with that is in the first time that we all did come together for the meeting and the interviews, I don't know that there was the effort I think we probably should have dedicated to trying to find and identify if there could be a consensus. They were just a series of votes without a great deal of discussion, which left me feeling as though we maybe didn't give everything to the process that we could have. That's why I'm still in support of in November, bringing these folks back, knowing if it gets past that, I'm fully on board. And again, to Katie's point, it's not something that I think we're hurting the board in any way by leaving it open, so it's not a hill to die on. But I do feel as though we owe an opportunity to build consensus as a group in front of the public and discuss the candidates a bit further after learning a bit more from them in another round of interviews. So that's why I actually still support bringing them back in November for one time. If we can get them all in the room, get us all in the room, and giving that one more effort, if we end up without building consensus, as Tom had mentioned, then at that point I think it's best to move on. But in my heart, I think we owe it to everyone involved, including those candidates, to have that other meeting to discuss this just a bit further and share our thoughts a little bit more and hope that maybe use some persuasive, discussion and see if consensus could be built. And that might be hopeful on my part, but I'm okay being hopeful in that regard. So that's why I still support bringing this back in November if we're able to do that for one more discussion before moving on to the next.
But I would support that, should you make that motion. I think if nothing else, this is an opportunity for us to fine-tune the process even further for ourselves and future boards to come. I think the way we adjusted the process of appointal was beneficial for everybody, but we have put it into practice now, and we've found cracks that need to be filled, and we can at least agree that we need to have a discussion on how to fine-tune it just a little bit more. But I agree with you, Heath. I think that maybe had these candidates had more of an opportunity to get more diverse questions answered, and there was more of a discussion, maybe there would have been a more clear front runner, and we could have come to consensus. So I would support you if you made that motion.
I don't think anything's going to change. I'll just be completely honest. I don't see it changing. We had the opportunity. Tom asked, there were some questions that were the same type of topic, but Tom had asked us to send him the questions and to have a variety of questions in case somebody else had asked something along those lines. I don't think people did that. So, I get where you guys are coming from, but I don't see anything changing.
And I think that's fair. Like I said, I think that maybe fine-tuning the process, maybe we can have an open spreadsheet with the questions posted anonymously, so we can see who's asked the question already, and we can ask a different question. I think the similar questions came about because we do share the same values at the end of the day, and so we were asking the same questions that we wanted to be represented to our constituents. if we had some kind of an open document that we could see if a question had already been asked, so we knew to ask another question, that might be more efficient. I've used that word way too many times today, but everything comes down to it. We need to make it more efficient, and now we know where it needs to be made more efficient. And I agree, Lana, things might not make a difference, and it might be a waste of time for them, and it may not. It may be that it clarifies what we're looking for in a board. It may clarify for them whether they're willing to commit further and run for office. It may be helpful for them in any number of ways that we bring them back in and have them answer more questions that are more hard-hitting. They can get a better idea of how a board operates. They can get a better idea of what we're looking for and what the community's looking for, and help them decide that way. So, Tom, I know you had something you wanted to say, and then, I think we'll go round and round kind of making the same point, but I think, yeah, I wouldn't be against bringing them back on. I agree, maybe things won't change, but I think that at the end of the day, there's a lot of clarifying things we can use to improve here.
I'll just make mine real quick. I do have my doubts that we would come to a consensus. Back to what you said about a tiebreaker. I meant it when I said we've worked really well together, and I don't think we've had anything come up this past year that's been a heated debate, or except for this, that's been a heated debate or needed that tiebreaker. And lastly, if this doesn't pass today, we did fine-tune this at one point, but I could see the need to do it more and come up with a subcommittee to go through and refine this, to bring it to the board for a better process.
I don't think any of us intend for this to be a divisive issue in any way, but it is the way I think we should move forward, so I will offer a motion this evening, and we'll see where that goes. But understanding the results are where they are, and I don't think any of us leave with any angst with the way that the vote may fall as that goes. So it's not with that intent that I make a motion to move the Board Vacancy District 3 position and interviews to Monday, November the 10th, 2026.
I'll second.
All
Wait
those
a
in
minute.
favor?
Wait a minute. Discussion. I just realized as you said November 10th, I won't be here.
Oh, good heavens.
We need to postpone.
So, another postponement.
Yep.
He's up to amend his motion.
Caught it at the beginning this time.
December 14th.
I'd like to amend my motion to make the date December the 14th, 2026.
Second again.
All those in favor? Opposed? Either way, the motion did not pass. However, I would like to bring up that the idea of later putting together a subcommittee to refine the process.
I think that's a good idea.
10.1, publication of the 2026-27 budget hearing and revenue neutral rate tax notice hearing.
Good evening, everyone. It is not only the beginning of the school year, start time, it is also budget season. And we've been talking about this the last couple of months. But this is the time where we will talk about the budget that we have proposed, and we'll put that forth and share that with the public so that they have some time to review it. And then next month, we would be voting on whether or not we want to move forward with it. I also want to bring to your attention that this is a long-standing process. This isn't just I get the budget document and we plug a bunch of numbers in. There are a lot of things that go into this, and the two major ones are things that you guys are well aware of and have been very involved with. One is our strategic plan and those 6 principles that we have up there. And then the other is our building needs assessments, which are buildings and leadership teams and community, and you guys have all participated in this spring. And both of those documents are available on the district website if anyone would like to review them in support of what we're doing with the budget. So as we look at the budget, again, we look at the same document every single year. There are really 7 funds that have mill rates assigned to them where we levy taxes. Of those 7, only 2 really direct our operating funds, and that is the general fund and the supplemental general, or the LOB. Those other 5 that are on there have very specific purposes that we can spend that money on, so we really consider those operating funds on that with that to really drive the day-to-day things that we're doing in the district. Each of those budget lines also not only include our local tax levies, but also state aid. And assessed valuation is really the key driver to where those numbers end up. So let's look really quickly at assessed valuation. As you can see on this chart, I did a 15-year look back, but you can tell that it has, and you can tell looking around town, that it has grown. In the last 15 years, our assessed valuation in this district has tripled. And just this past year, it's gone up 12% over last year. So again, there are properties coming on the rolls, there are abated properties coming back on the rolls, there's growth happening, and then there are also just increases in valuation of existing properties. So how does that relate to the funding that we receive and the mill levies that we set? So beyond that base state aid per pupil, which is that number that is based strictly on your enrollment and your FTEs and all of that, we also have additional state funding that's available to us under an equalization aid. And so that really just takes, someone like us that may have a higher assessed valuation and can generate more and equalizes us with, say, a small district in Western Kansas that doesn't have as large of a tax base. So there's state aid that goes into that and plays it out so that makes sure that there's not one district that has, the Taj Mahal and one district that's, driving the Beverly Hillbillies truck. So it really helps make sure that all kids across Kansas have an equal opportunity for resources. So we look at this in 2 different buckets. So the bond and the LOB are going against one assessed valuation. There's actually 3, and they all have a bunch of different rules and regulations that go in them. But what the state does to decide what state aid that we're going to get is they look at our assessed valuation per pupil. So that's where enrollment comes into play. As you can see in this one, the valuation per pupil for 25-26, the state average was about $115,000, and ours was $111,000. So we're actually a little below the state average. It's because we have a lot of abated properties in ours, but we also are not growing, and so those 2 things in tandem got that green dotted line and that blue line. You're getting closer and closer to each other. Well, when those lines get closer to each other, guess what happens to your state aid? It starts to fall. Like the further you are from that state average, the more state aid you get. Obviously, it's trending downward. You can see that the LOB, that the state aid is dropping by 5 points this year, and the bond and interest is also dropping by 5 points. So you can see the average increases over the last 10 years. The state's gone up 62%. We've gone up 130%. Again, we expect that blue line to cross over and be above that green line, which will reduce the amount of state aid that we have in these 2 specific funds. Where that's most evident is the next one. So our capital outlay valuation is really the truest valuation of where our district sits. There are absolutely no abatements in there, and it's about $927 million. So it's a huge number. That includes every single property that sits commercial, homeowners, all of those things in there. So all those properties that are abated, we do get to levy against that top number. But what that does to us is that puts us significantly above the state average because we have a lot of great commercial properties and growth in our district. And so for the first time, we will receive 0 state aid and capital outlay for this next upcoming school year. We also can't levy more than 8 mills against that, so that's the state statute. So the available capital outlay funds will be 100% locally funded for this school year and probably going forward. We're prepared for that, but this decline has been even faster than we expected. We thought maybe we'd get another couple of years to squeak out a little bit, but the last 2 years, our assessed valuation has skyrocketed. Again, lots of growth, lots of warehouses and other commercial properties going up, homes going up, that all of that adds up to a larger tax base for us. So what does all of this have to do with the local mill rate? The largest portion of our levied mills that are used for the operating funds are, like I said, dictated by enrollment. We can't levy more than 20 mills in the general fund. We can't levy any more than what we're levying in the LOB because it's based strictly on our enrollment. And so we can't decide, oh, we're going to creep that up. In a little bit, you're going to be asked to authorize a 33% LOB, which is just slightly higher than the state average this year. That gives us a little more wiggle room, but it's really not a lot. And that, again, is the cap. So that's really what we've set this at. So when the enrollment is increasing, we can drop mill rates even larger. Just like we did in 2011 through 2016, you can see those large drops in that bar graph. But as our enrollment gets closer and closer or slows, you can see that mill rate, even though the assessed valuation goes up higher, the largest chunks of that don't really change and what we can levy. So it's important to note, too, that not just homeowners are affected by these mill rates. If you own a vehicle, this also applies to you, so you pay some of those taxes. If you own a boat, actually that might be coming off the rolls. If you own an RV, you own a motorcycle, lots of motorized things. The Department of Motor Vehicles then also sends us some money from that as well. So what we are proposing, however, which is great news for our taxpayers, is another drop in our mill rate. It's down a modest 0.27 mils this year. Again, a lot of this has to do with assessed valuation and the maxes and all of that, and our enrollment. So it is the 14th year in a row that we have not increased the mill rate, so that is definitely something the board should be very proud of. But you can see it's going to continue to slow unless enrollment goes up. So just want you guys to keep that in mind. So what are the next steps? Next steps are, like I said, you're going to approve, hopefully, the 33% LOB. That's an annual thing that we have to do. And then we've already notified Johnson and Miami counties of our intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate. And it's important to note again that 84% of our operating expenses are compensation, which you're also going to talk about tonight and hopefully approve the contracts for all of our staff coming up. And these reductions in the state aid definitely have an impact on what we can levy and how much that we can levy against that revenue neutral rate. So on September 14th, citizens will have the opportunity to share their feelings and share their viewpoints on the revenue neutral rate exceeding that and our budget in general, if they would choose. During that meeting, once those hearings have been completed, you guys will vote to hopefully exceed the revenue neutral rate because that's what our budget is based on. And then both those hearings will be closed. Then in the actual meeting, you'll adopt the legal max budget for 26-27. And I just want to give a reminder to everyone, these numbers are in here as a ceiling. They are not necessarily what we intend to spend. We're trying to set a ceiling so that we don't have to come back to you and say, uh-oh, we overspent, and now you have to approve and authorize more money for us to spend. So we're setting a ceiling, a realistic ceiling without really adjusting the mill rate too terribly much to make sure that we can meet our legal maximums in all of those funds for this coming year. All right, so that's what's up on deck for you guys. Should you approve the proposed budget that we have for you tonight and the 33% local option budget, we'll post this in the Johnson County Post next week. It'll run for 10 days, and then we'll come back at the next boarding meeting with the hearings and the final approval in time for us to submit this to KSDE on September 20th, and then also to the county by October 1st. So with that, I will entertain any questions. Good?
Thank you, Amy.
All right. I think I hit my under. Good job.
Need a motion, right? I'd like to make a motion for approval for the publication of the 2026-2027 budget hearing and revenue neutral tax rate notice hearing in the Johnson County Post on Tuesday, August 18th, 2026.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed, the motion passes. 10.2, the annual resolution to adopt a local option budget percentage, which Amy already addressed.
I'd like to make a motion that the USD 231 shall be authorized to make a local option percentage in an amount up to 33% for the 2026-2027 school year.
Second?
All those in favor? None opposed. Motion passes. That will bring us to 10.3, KSB 2026 Delegate Assembly. Usually coming into this, I know who's going to KSB. Okay. So that said, what this is there's, we pick somebody to represent us, and you'll be the voting delegate when we're down there for the new president-elect and then updated policies and things of that nature. The three of us over previous years have done it, so would you be interested? Okay. And we need a backup. He said he'll be the backup. All right, so I will make a motion to approve Board Member Julie Aldridge as the USD 231 KASB delegate who is entitled to one vote at the delegate assembly. The voting delegate will be submitted by the board clerk no later than November 1st, 2026. The assembly will be both in person and virtual on Saturday, November 7th, 2026 at 8:30 a.m. during the KASB annual convention held in Wichita, Kansas. If the delegate is unable to fulfill their duties, Board Member Heath Freeman will be the alternate delegate.
I'll
That
second.
was a motion.
I'll
Got a
second.
second?
Yeah.
All those in favor? None opposed, the motion passes. 10.4, executive session for negotiations.
10 minutes, please.
Okay. Motion to go into executive session to discuss the board's professional negotiation priorities and parameters with its chief negotiators pursuant to the exception for employer-employee budget and negotiations under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 6:45 p.m. The board would like to invite Dr. Huff, Dr. Booth, Dr. Marshall, Dr. Wright, and Amy Drogemeyer into executive session.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed, motion passes. All right, we're back in session and on to 10.5, ratification of teacher negotiated agreement contract for 2026-2027.
All right, thank you, Tom. Before we proceed through the action items, I'd just like to say a few words on behalf of the negotiation process. We'd like to extend our gratitude to all members of the GNEA and Board of Education teams. Special thanks to Tom, Heath, and Lana for their input and guidance on the BOE team. The entire Gardner Edgerton National Education Association leadership team, as well as our teachers. As has been the case over the last several years, the negotiation process produced several important and meaningful outcomes for our staff. We will now ask the board to consider these important items offered in support of all of our employees. We believe these actions underscore how much the board members and administrative team value our amazing staff members. So, I'd like to proceed with item 10.1, ratification of the teacher negotiated agreement contract for the 26-27 school year. Action to approve the contract negotiated between the USD 231 Board of Education and the GNEA as ratified by the teachers. The negotiated contract shall include salary schedules for the 26-27 school year, which will allow one vertical step on the certified salary schedule for returning staff and allow one horizontal step on the 26-27 supplemental salary schedule for staff members returning to the same supplemental assignment.
Thank you, Jody. Action to approve the contract negotiated between the USD 231 Board of Education and the GENEA as ratified by the teachers.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed. The motion passes.
Item 10.6, consideration of special education hard-to-fill stipend for the 26-27 school year. Proposed the USD 231 Board of Education approve special education hard-to-fill stipends for 26-27 at $1,000 for special education certified staff. An employee must have been employed as of August 1st, 2025 and continuously employed through the end of the 26-27 school year. Payment of the stipend will be made through the established payroll system and prorated for FTE, early termination, resignation based on actual days worked. Returning staff in those positions will receive the same amount as their 25-26 school year.
Action to approve the hard-to-fill stipends for special education certified staff.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 10.7, classified employees or support staff. Proposed that the USD 231 Board of Education approve an increase to support staff members' base hourly rate of pay. This increase will apply to identified classified staff members employed on or before June 30th, 2026. A proposed increase for identified classified staff calculated as a 2.5% increase on their 25-26 base hourly rate of pay. The increased rate of pay would be effective July 1, 2026.
Action to approve a classified employee salary increase for the 2026-2027 school year. Identified classified employees who have been continuously employed with the district on or before June 30th, 2026 will receive a 2.5% increase on their 2025-2026 base hourly rate of pay. All those in favor? None opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you. And lastly, item 10.8, Advanced Tech Center, Technology Department, staff, and administrative contracts. Proposed the USD 231 Board of Education approved 2026-2027 salaries for returning Advanced Tech Center, Technology Department, and administrative staff be increased by 2.32% above their 25-26 base salary.
Action to approve increased compensation for returning Advanced Tech Center, Technology Department, and administrative employees for the 2026-2027 school year. Compensation to be increased by 2.32% above their 2025-2026 base salary amounts.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, 10.9, executive session for personnel.
You think so?
Well, it's up to you guys.
It's not the
This is the contract.
5 minutes,
But 5 minutes is nice.
3 minutes, 5 minutes.
Okay. Motion to go into executive session to discuss the superintendent's contract pursuant to confidential personnel exceptions under comma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 6:50 PM. It's 55 PM. And the board would like to invite Dr. Jody Marshall and Dr. Ben Booth into executive session.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed, motion passes. session and on to 10.10, action on personnel, superintendent's contract.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's contract for 2026, 2027.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed, motion.
She's here.
Just 5 minutes?
Just 5?
Unless you guys have a bunch of questions.
Olivia, do you feel like you need more than 5 minutes? Okay. Motion to go into executive session to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 7:00 p.m. The board would like to invite Dr. Marshall, Dr. Huff, Dr. Booth, Dr. Wright, and Olivia Risco into executive session. That was the correct pronunciation, right? Okay.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed, motion passes. All right, we're back in session and on to 10.12, executive session for personnel.
Okay. I've got in context today, and I don't think they're as good as my glasses. Motion to go into executive session to discuss the Human Resources Personnel Report pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 7:10 p.m. The board would like to invite Dr. Huff, Dr. Marshall, Dr. Booth, and Dr. Wright into executive session.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed, motion passes. All right, we're back in session and on to 10.13, action on personnel.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed, motion passes. 11.1, adjournment of meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed, motion passes. 12.1, next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, September 14th, 2026 at 6 p.m. here in the board office.